fix my thing here. Forgot to fix my video. Alright, got it fixed. Hello everyone, I'm Lee, and I'm going to start reading in Exodus. I got the Septuagint, Exodus pulled up here. That's the Greek translation of the Old Testament. I've got the Dead Sea Scrolls fragments of Exodus found. Got those pulled up here. I got all the links below. The Dead Sea Scrolls English Bible. I got the KJV pulled up, the Blue Letter Bible, and the Targum, Aramaic Targums, Pseudo-Jonathan. Got that pulled up here. I don't know how much I'll use of that, but you know, something comes up, maybe a good reference. So here is Exodus chapter 1. Now these are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, and Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. All the souls who came out of Jacob's body were 70 souls, and Joseph was in Egypt already. Joseph died, as did all his brothers and all that generation. That's fragment 4Q11, verse 1 through 6. This fragment 4Q13. Now these are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob their father. So also the words in red appear in the manuscript found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but are missing in our modern translations. Well, some of them. Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. All the souls who came out of Jacob's body were 75 souls. And this is missing here. Joseph died, as did all his brothers and all that generation. So 6, and there's a footnote here for 1. It says this reading matches the LXX, which is the Septuagint, and Acts 7:14. So that would be, where's the 1 at? Yeah, see, 75 souls. Matches Septuagint and Acts 7:14. So the scroll fragment 4Q1, and Issachar and Zebulun and Benjamin, all the souls who came out of Jacob's body were 75 souls, and Joseph was in Egypt already. Joseph died, as did all his brothers and all that generation. The children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and grew exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose a new king over Egypt who didn't know Joseph. He said to his people, "Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come, let's deal wisely with them, lest they multiply." And it happened that when any war breaks out, they also join themselves to our enemies and fight against us and escape out of the land. Therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens. They built storage cities for Pharaoh, Pithom, and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and the more they spread out. They started to dread the children of Israel. The Egyptians ruthlessly made the children of Israel serve, and they made their lives bitter with hard service in mortar and in brick and all kinds of service in the field, all their service in which they ruthlessly made them serve. The king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of the one was Shiphrah and the name of the other Puah. And he said, "When you perform the duty of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stool, if it is a son, then you shall kill him, but if it is a daughter, then she shall live." But the midwives feared Yahuwah and didn't do what the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the baby boys alive. And I don't know whether there's a 2 here. It says, Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, "You shall cast every son who is born into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive." So we got to 17. And this fragment 2Q2 is, therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens. They built storage cities for Pharaoh, Pithom, and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied, and the more they increased greatly. They were grieved because of the children of Israel. The Egyptians ruthlessly made the children of Israel serve, and they made their lives bitter with hard service, in mortar and in brick, in all kinds of service in the field. All their service, in which they ruthlessly made them serve, they continued to multiply and increase greatly. And Egypt was in dread because of the children of Israel. And the green words present in the scroll but with spelling differences that do not affect the meaning, are in green, like this. Green. This is common in Hebrew. So you got that. I noticed that from the Zelda Breath of the Wild, they got a woman named Pua in there. I used to play that a lot. It's a video game. Let's see. So this is scroll fragment. Interesting, they got it named after an Egyptian, Pua. Now these are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, and Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin, Dan, and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All the souls who came out of Jacob's body were 70 souls. This is Paleo, Genesis, and Exodus. It's interesting, they got 70 there. And Joseph was in Egypt already. Joseph died, as did all his brothers and all that generation. Let's see. And we got all the way to 20 down here. 4Q13. 75 souls. He said, when you perform the duty of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stool, if it is a son, then you shall kill him, but if it is a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared Elohim, or Yahuwah, and didn't do what the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the baby boys alive. The king of Egypt called for the Hebrew midwives and said to them, why have you done this thing and have saved the boys alive? So I guess that's a Hebrew name. It's not Egyptian. Yeah, okay. My bad. Hebrew. Pua. And said to them, why have you done this thing? Save the boys alive. The midwife said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women aren't like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwife comes to them. Yahuwah dealt with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very mighty, because the midwives feared Elohim, and he gave them families. So you got all the way to 20 in the fragments here. So that's good. And we'll see to 20 in the Septuagint, we got 21. And as for the midwives feared God, Yahuwah, they established for themselves families, and Pharaoh charged all this people, saying, whatever male child shall be born to the Hebrews, cast it to the river, and every female saved alive. Yep, same thing. So we got there Exodus chapter 2, 4Q1. A man of the house of Levi went and took a daughter of Levi as his wife. The woman conceived and bore a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him 3 months. When she could no longer hide him, she took a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and with pitch. She put the child in it and laid it in the reeds by the river's bank. His sister stood far off to see what would be done to him. Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe at the river. Her maidens walked along by the riverside. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her servant to get it. So we got 5. Okay, this fragment here contains more. 4Q13. The woman conceived and bore a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him 3 months. When she could no longer hide him, she took a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and with pitch. She put the child in it and said to her maidservant, go, and laid it in the reeds by the river's bank. His sister stood far off to see what would be done to him. Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe at the river. Her maidens walked along by the riverside. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her servant to get it. She opened it and saw the child, and behold, the baby cried. Pharaoh's daughter had compassion on him and said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children." Pharaoh's daughter. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Should I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you?" Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." The young woman went and called the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages." The woman took the child and nursed it. The child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses and said, "Because I drew him out of the water." After those many days, when Moses had grown up, he went out to his brothers and looked at their burdens. He saw an Egyptian striking a Hebrew, one of his brothers. He looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. He went on the second day and saw, and behold, 2 men of the Hebrews were fighting with each other. He said to them, "Who did the wrong? Why do you strike your fellow?" He said to him, "Who made you prince and a judge over us? Do you plan to kill me as you killed the Egyptian?" Moses was very afraid and said, "Surely this thing is known." Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to kill Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and lived in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, shepherdesses of his flock. That's interesting. They came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. The shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. When they came to Reuel, their father, he said, "How is it that you have returned so early today?" That's 18. So this scroll here is the Paleo-Genesis Exodus. The child grew and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses and said, "Because I drew him out of the water." So 22, 18 to 22. 18. 19, and they said, "An Egyptian delivered us from the shepherds and drew water for us and watered our sheep." So they called Moses an Egyptian. And he said to his daughters, "And where is he? And why have you left the man? Call him therefore, that he may eat bread." And Moses was established with the man, and he gave Zipporah his daughter to Moses to wife. And the woman conceived and bore a son, and Moses called his name Gershom, saying, "I am a sojourner in a strange land." 22. Yep, Dead Sea Scrolls match, Gershom, where he said, yep, "In the course of those many days, the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed because of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up to Yahuwah. Because of the bondage, Yahuwah heard their groaning, and Yahuwah remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. Yahuwah saw the children of Israel, and Yahuwah was concerned about them." So 25. Yahuwah looked upon the children of Israel and was made known to them. Dead Sea Scrolls says he was concerned about them. And it says he had respect unto them. So nothing matches the Dead Sea Scrolls, KJV or Septuagint. It says he was concerned about them. So we look at, let's see, where's it at? Forgot to open one translation here. This is Jubilees, found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, translated by R.H. Charles. Let's see here. Go to Jubilees is the creation account, which also includes the children of Israel. So you got chapter Excel, I think this is 46, Jubilees, XLBI, And yep, see it says Exodus 1, Genesis L. So Genesis 50, Exodus 1. Came to pass that after Jacob died, the children of Israel multiplied in the land of Egypt, and they became a great nation, and they were of one accord in heart, so that brother loved brother, and every man helped his brother. And they increased abundantly and multiplied exceedingly 10 weeks of years, all the days of the life of Joseph. And there was no Satan nor any evil all the days of the life of Joseph, which he lived after his father Jacob. For all the Egyptians honored the children of Israel all the days of the life of Joseph. And Joseph died being 110 years old. 17 years he lived in the land of Canaan, and 10 years he was a servant, and 3 years in prison, and 80 years he was under the king, ruling all the land of Egypt. And that's the interesting part. You get a lot more detail in Jubilees. And Genesis quotes Jubilees. And he died, and all his brethren, and all that generation, and he commanded the children of Israel before he died that they should carry his bones with them when they went forth from the land of Egypt. And he made them swear regarding his bones, for he knew that the Egyptians would not again bring forth and bury him in the land of Canaan. For Macmaran, king of Canaan, while dwelling in the land of Assyria, fought in the valley with the king of Egypt, and slew him there, and pursued after the Egyptians to the gates of Armon. But he was not able to enter, for another new king had become king of Egypt, and he was stronger than he, and he returned to the land of Canaan. And the gates of Egypt were closed, and none went out, and none came into Egypt. And Joseph died in the 46th Jubilee, in the 6th week, in the 2nd year, and they buried him in the land of Egypt, and his brethren died after him. And the king of Egypt went forth to war with the king of Canaan in the 47th Jubilee, in the 2nd week, in the 2nd year. And the children of Israel brought forth all the bones of the children of Jacob, save the bones of Joseph, and they buried them in the field in the double cave in the mountain. And most of them returned to Egypt, but few of them remained in the mountains of Hebron. And Amram, thy father, remained with them. That's Moses' grandfather, Amram. And the king of Canaan was victorious over the king of Egypt, and he closed the gates of Egypt, and he devised an evil device against the children of Israel, of afflicting them. And he said unto the people of Egypt, Behold, the people of the children of Israel have increased and multiplied more than we. Come and let us deal wisely with them before they become too many, and let us afflict them with slavery before war come upon us, and before they too fight against us. Else they will join themselves unto our enemies, and get them up out of our land, for their hearts and faces are toward the land of Canaan. And he set over them taskmasters to afflict them with slavery. And they built strong cities for Pharaoh, Pithom, and Ramses, and they built all the walls and all the fortifications which have fallen in the cities of Egypt. So it tells you what they did. And they made them to serve with rigor, and the more they dealt evilly with them, the more they increased and multiplied. And the people of Egypt abominated the children of Israel. Next is Jubilees chapter 47. In the 7th week, in the 7th year, in the 47th Jubilee, thy father went forth from the land of Canaan, and thou wast born in the 4th week, in the 6th year thereof, in the 48th Jubilee. This was the time of tribulation on the children of Israel. And Pharaoh, king of Egypt, issued a command regarding them, that they should cast all their male children which are born into the river. Now, the time of tribulation for the children of Israel, interesting. He saved them out of the tribulation when he took them out of Egypt. And let's go here. So we got 1 Corinthians chapter 10. Moreover, brethren, I would not that you should be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and all were baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of the spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Messiah. But with many of them Elohim was not well pleased, Yahuwah was not pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Now these things were for our examples, For our examples to the intent we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted, neither be you idolaters as were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication as some of them committed, and fell in one day 23,000. Neither let us tempt Christ or Messiah, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now here's the key part here. Now all these things happen unto them for examples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Wherefore let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. There hath no temptation taken you but such as is common to man, but Elohim is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, but will with temptation also make a way to escape, or testing, way to escape, that you may be able to bear it. Wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry. I speak as to wise men, judge you what I say. Now, let's see. Yep. So they're written for our admonition. Happened before, happened again. So that's the second Exodus. He's going to regather us. Where's it at? If I can find this here. There we go. There we go. Ecclesiastes 1:9. The thing that hath been is that it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So they were taken out of tribulation. They went through tribulation. And Paul says that was their examples for us, upon whom the ends of the world have come. In Jeremiah chapter 23. Bad timing. Jeremiah 23:7. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah, that they shall no more say, Yahuwah liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. We'll take a short break. Be right back. Okay. Alright, and okay, Jeremiah 23:7. So they're not going to say, they're no more going to talk about the first Exodus, which that hasn't happened yet because everybody talks about the first Exodus. But Yahuwah liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all the countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. The second Exodus. So, if you look at 4 corners of the earth. And Isaiah 11:12, he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcast of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah, 2 houses, from the 4 corners of the earth. Has that happened yet? Nope. Negative. So that's what Paul's talking about. These were our examples. And Pharaoh, king of Egypt, issued a command regarding them that they should cast all their male children which were born into the river. So this is Jubilees 47. And they cast them in for 7 months till the day that thou wast born, and thy mother hid thee for 3 months, and they told regarding her. And she made an ark for thee, and covered it with pitch and asphalt, and placed it in the flags on the bank of the river. So that's a little different. Pitch and asphalt. And she placed thee in it 7 days, and thy mother came by night and suckled thee, and by day Miriam thy sister guarded thee from the birds. And in those days Tharmuth, the daughter of Pharaoh, came to bathe in the river. Tharmuth. And she heard thy voice crying, and she told her maids to bring thee forth, and they brought thee unto her, and she took thee out of the ark, and she had compassion on thee. And thy sister said unto her, shall I go and call unto thee one of the Hebrew women to nurse and suckle this babe for thee? And she said unto her, go. So they were already taking care of him before they went and got somebody. To take care of him. And she went and called thy mother Jochebed. So there's another name. And she gave her wages, and she nursed thee. And afterwards, when thou wast grown up, they brought thee unto the daughter of Pharaoh, and thou didst become her son. And Amram thy father taught thee writing. And after thou hast completed 3 weeks, they brought thee into the royal court. So that's interesting. Amram taught him how to write. And thou wast 3 weeks of years at court, until the time when thou didst go forth from the royal court, and didst see an Egyptian smiting thy friend who was with the children of Israel, and thou didst slay him and hide him in the sand. And on the 2nd day thou didst find 2 of the children of Israel striving together, and thou didst say to him who was doing the wrong, why dost thou smite thy brother? And he was angry and indignant, and said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Thinkest thou to kill me as thou killedst the Egyptian yesterday? And thou didst fear and flee on account of these words. And Jubilees chapter 48, in the 6th year of the 3rd week of the 49th Jubilee, thou didst depart and dwell in the land of Midian 5 weeks and 1 year. So 2372 is what that comes up to. The Jubilees 49 years. So you got he's born in 2330. So he is 42 years old when he leaves. And thou didst return into Egypt in the 2nd week, in the 2nd year, in the 50th Jubilee. So he's 42 plus 20, 38. So he's 80 when he returns. And thou thyself knowest what he spake unto thee on Mount Sinai, and what Prince Mastema desired to do with thee when thou wast returning into Egypt on the way, when thou didst meet him at the lodging place. Did he not with all his power seek to slay thee and deliver the Egyptians out of thy hand, when he saw that thou wast sent to execute judgment and vengeance on the Egyptians? And I delivered thee out of his hand, and thou didst perform the signs and wonders which thou wast sent to perform in Egypt against Pharaoh, and against all his house, and against all his servants and his people. So that's very interesting. stuff we don't get in the Genesis account. So that would be 25. Yep. So Exodus chapter 3, verse 1. Yep. So scroll 4Q11. Now Moses was keeping the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the back of the wilderness and came to Elohim's mountain, to Horeb. Yahweh's angel, Yahuwah's angel, appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the middle of the bush. Who's Yahuwah's angel? His word. Who's the word? The Messiah. So Exodus 3, verse 2. And now you see in this is where you got to be careful with the Targums. It says Zagnaguel, the angel of Yahuwah. No. Negative. You read Enoch, the names of the angels, and that's not one of them. They just stuck that in there. I'm trying to see where. Let's see. This is the Jerusalem Targum and Pseudo-Jonathan Targum. Okay, so the Pseudo-Jonathan says Zagnuel, the angel of Yahuwah. The Jerusalem Targum says, I look at this great sight, wherefore the bushes were fresh and not burned, and when it was seen before Yahuwah that he turned to look, Yahuwah called to him from the midst of the bush, the Lord, Yahusha, Moshe, Moshe, and he said, behold me. And where's that? So we go to Targum on Kelos, Exodus 3. And Yahusha saw, or the Lord, saw that he turned to see, and the Lord called him from the midst of the bush, said, Moshe, Moshe. Yeah, the angel of Yahuwah, Yahusha, in a flame of fire in the midst of the bush. So Pseudo-Jonathan's wrong on that part. Yahuwah's angel means messenger, appeared to him in a flame of fire in the middle of the bush. He looked, and behold, the bush was burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. Moses said, I will go now and see this great sight while the bush is not burned. When Yahuwah saw that he came over to see, Elohim called to him out of the middle of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. He said, here I am. So you got verse 4. Uh, 4 to 8. And he said, draw not nigh hither, loose thy sandals off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. And he said, I am the Elohim of thy father, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob. And Moses turned away his face, for he was afraid to gaze at Elohim. And what's the Messiah say? No man has seen the Father. John 6:46, not that any man has seen the Father, save he which is of God, the Messiah. He hath seen the Father. So did Moses see the Father? Nope. Negative. And let's see, where was that? And the Lord, Yahusha, what did he say here? Messiah said, I just think it's amazing. The word's written in such a way that if he don't want you to see it, you're not going to see it. Let's see, where's it at? Thomas. A lot of Bible verses. Said Thomas, let's see. Here we go. John 20:28. And Thomas answered and said unto him, My Lord and my God. Was Thomas cuckooing off his rocker? Or did he know he's Lord and God? Elohim, plural. So God's Son is also God. He's not the Father. Let's see, what was I looking for? Who has said to Moses, I have surely seen the affliction of my people that is in Egypt, and I have heard their cry caused by their taskmasters, for I know their affliction. 8. I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians. Who came down? The Father? No, the Son. 8. I have come down, this 4Q1. I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land to a good and large land, to a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanite, the Hittite. That's marked out. That's missing from the manuscript. The Perizzite. Okay, here's the Amorite and the Hivite, the Girgashite. That's very interesting. The Girgashite, this reading matches the LXX and the Samaritan Pentateuch. So the Septuagint and the Pentateuch, not the KJV. Girgashite's missing. And the Jebusite. Now behold, the cry of the children of Israel has come to me. Moreover, I have seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppressed them. Come now, therefore, and I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. Moses said to Yahuwah, who am I, or Yahusha, Elohim, who am I that I should go to Pharaoh, and that I should bring the children of Israel out of Egypt? He said, certainly I will be with you. This will be the token to you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve Elohim on this mountain. Moses said to Elohim, behold, when I come to the children of Israel and tell them the Elohim of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What should I tell them? Elohim said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, you shall tell the children of Israel this, I am has sent me to you. Okay. So that's another interesting point here. For Abraham was I am. And let's see. Okay, John 8:58. Yahusha said unto them, and the red letters is Yahusha's very own words. Verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am. What did he just say? He said, I am. I am the I am. I am has sent me to you. Elohim said moreover to Moses, you shall tell the children of Israel this, Yahuwah, the Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial to all generations. Go and gather the elders of Israel together and tell them, Yahuwah, the Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob, has appeared to me, saying, I have surely visited you and seen that which is done to you in Egypt. So we got 16, 17 here in this scroll, 4Q11. And I have said, I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt to the land of the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, the Jebusite. It's missing here. To a land flowing with milk and honey. They will listen to your voice, and you shall come, and you and the elders of Israel, to the king of Egypt, and you shall tell him, Yahuwah, the Elohim of the Hebrews, has met with us. Now please let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to Yahuwah our Elohim. I know that the king of Egypt won't give you permission to go. No, not by a mighty hand. I'll reach out my hand and strike Egypt with all my wonders, which I will do among them, and after that he will let you go. I will give this people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and it will happen that when you go, you shall not go empty-handed. 21. Yep, pretty much the same thing in this manuscript. Yep. Girgashot. I know the king of Egypt won't give you permission to go except by a mighty hand. I'll reach out my hand and strike Egypt with all my wonders which I do among them, and after that he will let you go. And thus I will give this people favor. 21. Yep. So you got 21. But every woman shall ask of her neighbor and fellow lodger articles of gold and silver and apparel, and you shall put them upon your sons and upon your daughters, and spoil ye the Egyptians. So 4. Chapter 4, let's see what Jubilee says here. And Yahuwah executed a great vengeance on them for Israel's sake, and smote them through plagues of blood and frogs, lice, and dog flies, malignant bulls breaking forth in blains, and their cattle by death and by hailstones. Thereby he destroyed everything that grew for them, and by locusts which devoured the residue which had been left by the hail, by darkness, and by the death of the firstborn of men and animals. And on all their idols Yahuwah took vengeance and burned them with fire. And I'm pretty sure he's going to do this the second time. Idols are going to be gone. Christmas trees and Easter bunnies and all that crap. Gone. Let's go to chapter 4. We'll go back to that. Exodus chapter 4, scroll 4-13. Moses answered, but behold, they will not believe me, nor listen to my voice, for they will say, Yahuwah has not appeared to you. How many people say that when you try to tell them the truth these days? What are you talking about? 1, let's see, 3. And Yahuwah said to him, what is this thing that is in thine hand? And he said, a rod. And he said, cast it on the ground. And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from it. So we got 4, 3. Yep, he said, throw it then on the ground. He threw it on the ground, it became a snake, and Moses ran away from it. Yahuwah said to Moses, stretch out your hand and take it by the tail. He stretched out his hand and took hold of it, and it became a rod in his hand. This is so that they may believe that Yahuwah, the Elohim of their fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, the Elohim of Jacob, has appeared to you. Yahuwah said furthermore to him, now put your hand inside your cloak. He put his hand inside his cloak, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous, as white as snow. He said, put your hand inside your cloak again. He put his hand inside his cloak again, and when he took it out of his cloak, behold, it had turned again as his other flesh. So that, if they will not believe you or listen to the voice of the first sign, that they will believe the voice of the latter sign. That's 8. Yeah. And it will happen if they will not believe. This is 4Q1. If they will not believe even these signs or listen to your voice, that you shall take of the water of the river and pour it on the dry land. The water which you take out of the river will become blood on the dry land. 8. Next one's 26, I guess, here. So 8, 9, got 9. And Moses said to Yahuwah, I pray Yahuwah, I have not been sufficient in former times, neither from the time that thou hast begun to speak to thy servant. I am weak in speech and slow-tongued. And Yahuwah said to Moses, who has given a mouth to man, and who has made the very hard of hearing, and the deaf, the seeing, and the blind? Have not I, Elohim? And now go, and I will open thy mouth, and will instruct thee in what thou shalt say. And Moses said, I pray thee, Yahuwah, appoint another able person whom thou shalt send. And Yahuwah was greatly angered against Moses, and said, Lo, is not Aaron the Levite thy brother? I know that he will surely speak to thee, and behold, he will come forth to meet thee. And beholding thee, he will rejoice within himself. And thou shalt speak to him, and thou shalt put my words into his mouth, and I will open thy mouth in his mouth, and I will instruct you in what you shall do. And he shall speak for thee to the people, and he shall be thy mouth, and thou shalt be for him in things pertaining to Elohim. And this rod that was turned into a serpent thou shalt take in thine hand, wherewith thou shalt work miracles. And Moses went and returned to Jotham his father-in-law, and says, I will go and return to my brethren in Egypt, and will see if they are yet living. And Jotham said to Moses, or Jethro, Go in health. And in those days after some time the king of Egypt died. And Yahuwah said to Moses in Midian, Go, depart into Egypt, for all that sought thy life are dead. And Moses took his wife and his children, and mounted them on the beast, and returned to Egypt. And Moses took the rod which he had from Elohim in his hand. And Yahuwah said to Moses, When thou goest and returnest to Egypt, see all the miracles I have charged thee with. Thou shalt work before Pharaoh, and I will harden his heart, and he shall certainly not send away the people. And thou shalt say to Pharaoh, These things saith Yahuwah, Israel is my firstborn. And I said to thee, Send away my people, that they may serve me. Now if thou wilt not send them away, see, I will slay thy firstborn son. And it came to pass that the angel of Yahuwah met him by the way in the inn, and sought to slay him. And Zipporah, having taken a stone, cut off the foreskin of her son, and fell at his feet, and said, The blood of the circumcision of my son is staunched. And he departed from him, because she said, The blood of the circumcision of my son is staunched. And Yahuwah said to Aaron, Go into the wilderness. So it's 27. Let's see what the scrolls say. 26. So he let him alone. Then she said, You are a bridegroom of blood because of the circumcision. That's interesting. 4:26. 4:26. What's the Hebrew say? A bloody husband thou art because of the circumcision. Bridegroom of blood, bloody husband. Yahuwah said to Aaron, Go into the wilderness to meet Moses. He went and met him on Elohim's mountain and kissed him. Moses told Aaron all of Yahuwah's words with which he had sent him, and all the signs with which he had instructed him. Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel. Aaron spoke all the words which Yahuwah had spoken to Moses, and did the signs in the sight of the people. The people believed, and when they heard that Yahuwah had visited the children of Israel, and that he had seen their affliction, then they bowed their heads and worshipped. 31. 2Q3. The people believed, and when they had heard that Yahuwah had visited the children of Israel, that he had seen their affliction, then they bowed their heads and worshipped. 20. This is the scroll at Wadi Meribah. Moses told Aaron all of Yahuwah's words with which he had sent him, and all the signs with which he had instructed him. Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the elders of the children of Israel. Aaron spoke all the words which Yahuwah had spoken to Moses, and did the signs in the sight of the people. The people believed, and when they heard that Yahuwah had visited the children of Israel, and that he had seen their affliction, then they bowed their heads and worshipped. 31. Yep. Sorry, 5. Yep, ends at 31. Exodus chapter 5 and scroll 4Q1. Nice thing about Exodus, so far we've got a lot of fragments here that have a lot of verses preserved, so that's very good. And Exodus 5:1. Afterward Moses and Aaron came and said to Pharaoh, This is what Yahuwah, the Elohim of Israel, says, Let my people go, that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness. That reminds me, we're going into the wilderness. Second Exodus. So there's a lot of people that are against feasts, which I know certain ones you have to go to the land, but certain ones, but you'd have to have the correct calendar. So I don't keep the feast because I don't have the right calendar. So, but here, Revelation 12:6, and the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of Elohim, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. So you got that, and then you got can't remember where the other. Might be Jeremiah 30:31. So in the wilderness, you got feast. I know there's another verse in the prophets. I think it's in Jeremiah. I can't remember. But if you go to, where's that? Sorry, I wish I could remember that one. You can research it. I'm pretty sure it's in there. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Second Ezra 2:38. Arise up and stand. Behold the number of those that be sealed in the feast of Yahuwah. Okay, so they're leaving at Egypt and they want to keep a feast to Yah. So here's end days, Second Ezra. It's in the Apocrypha, King James. It was in our Bibles till they removed it in the late 1800s. The Messiah quotes chapter 1 twice at least. Which are departed from the shadow of this world and have received glorious garments of Yahuwah. Take thy number, O Zion, and shut up all those of thine that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the law of Yahuwah. The number of thy children whom thou longest for is fulfilled. Beseech the power of Yahuwah that thy people, which have been called from the beginning, may be hallowed. I, Esdras, saw upon Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised Yahuwah with songs. And in the midst of them there was a young man of high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? And he answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing, and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of Yahuwah, and now are they crowned and receive palms. And let's see, I'll go to the next one. Then said I unto the angel, What young person is it that crowneth them, and give them palms in their hands? So he answered and said to me, It is the Son of God, of whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of Yahuwah. Then the angel said unto me, Go thy way, and tell my people what manner of things and how great wonders of Yahuwah thy Elohim thou hast seen. So you see they're sealed in the feast. And crowns. So you look at crowns. No, that's not it. No, that's not what I was looking for. So they're sealed in the feast. So second Exodus, sealed in the feast. Get ready to keep the feast. Put off the mortal. Their crown to receive, let's see, palms. Is that what I was looking for? Palms given to them. Here we go. Revelation 7:9. After this I beheld, lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb. You know who that is? Clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. That's the end times. Behold the number of those sealed at the feast. And we got, he set crowns. I'm pretty sure that's in there too. But we know who that is. Great people. They praised him with songs. Sang a song. Revelation 15:3, and they sing the song of Moses, the servant of Elohim, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Yahuwah Elohim Almighty, just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. And here from Revelation 14:3, and they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. Sealed at the feast. You got also, where's it at? I know I'm working backwards here. I read backwards sometimes for some reason. I don't know. Let's see. Yep, called from the beginning, may be hallowed. Those which have fulfilled the law of Yahuwah. Law ain't done away with. Nope. It changed a little bit. The Messiah changed some things, but they receive glorious garments. Those that be sealed in the feast of Yahuwah. Sealed. Who gets sealed? Revelation 7:4, and I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Somebody's keeping a feast, and they're getting sealed. So let's see, where are we at? 3. That they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness. 1, 2. So second verse. And Pharaoh said, who is he that I should hearken to his voice, so that I should send away the children of Israel? I do not know Yahuwah, and I will not let Israel go. 3. They said, the Elohim of the Hebrews has met with us. Please let us go 3 days' journey into the wilderness and sacrifice to Yahuwah our Elohim, lest he fall on us with pestilence or with the sword. The king of Egypt said to them, why do you, Moses and Aaron, take the people from their work? Go back to your burdens. Pharaoh said, behold, the people of the land are now many, and you make them rest from their burdens. The same day Pharaoh commanded the taskmasters of the people and their officers, saying, you shall no longer give the people straw to make brick, as before. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. The number of the bricks which they made before you require from them. You shall not diminish anything of it, for they are idle. Therefore they cry, saying, let's go and sacrifice to our Elohim. Let the heavier work be laid on the men, that they may labor in it, and don't let them pay any attention to lying words. The taskmasters of the people went out, and their officers, and they spoke to the people, saying, this is what Pharaoh says, I will not give you straw. Go yourselves, get straw where you can find it, for nothing of your work shall be diminished. So the people were scattered abroad throughout all the land of Egypt to gather stubble for straw. The taskmasters were urgent, saying, fulfill your work quota daily, as when there was straw given to you. The officers of the children of Israel, whom Pharaoh's taskmasters had set over them, were beaten and were asked, why haven't you fulfilled your quota both yesterday and today in making brick as before? Then the officers of the children of Israel came and cried to Pharaoh, saying, why do you deal this way with your servants? No straw is given to your servants, and they tell us, make brick, and behold, your servants are beaten, but the fault is in your own people. But Pharaoh said, you are idle, you are idle. Therefore you say, let's go and sacrifice to Yahuwah. 17. Now then go and work, for straw shall not be given to you, yet you shall return to the rate of bricks. And the accountants of the children of Israel saw themselves in an evil plot, men saying, you shall not fail to deliver the daily rate of the brick making. And they met Moses and Aaron coming forth to meet them. And as they came forth from Pharaoh, and they said to them, Yahuwah look upon you and judge you, for you have made our Savior abominable before Pharaoh and before his servants, to put a sword into his hands to slay us. And Moses turned to Yahuwah and said, I pray, Yahuwah, why hast thou afflicted this people, and wherefore hast thou sent me? For from the time that I went to Pharaoh to speak in thy name, he has afflicted this people, and thou hast not delivered thy people. So you got Pharaoh. So I'm not going to get a straw to them. Yeah. So that puts us at chapter 6. And Jubilees has got a lot more to say about it. But that's after that's after he takes them out. So we'll save that for next time. 1 through 5. It's a good little bit in there. I usually try to keep them to about an hour. So, alright. We'll start on chapter 6 next time, unless I make a different video in between. And I hope this was a blessing and was helpful to y'all. And